Hello and welcome to another standard video here in the preview event for Avatar: The Last Airbender. Today we're checking out Blue-White Flyers, a classic archetype in Magic, which got a ton of upgrades in the set. At 1 mana we have a Momo Friendly Flyer, a 1/1 legendary Lemur Bat ally with flying, saying the first non-Lemur creature spell with flying we cast during each of our turns gets a 1 mana discount. And whenever another creature we control with flying enters, Momo gets +1/+1 until end of turn, so it can get in for more than 1 damage pretty consistently. And turn 1 Momo can already set up a turn 2 Empyrean Eagle, which is kind of the classic lord for the archetype, a 2/3 flyer giving other flying creatures we control +1/+1, so that's a powerful curve. The reason Momo specifically says the first non-Lemur creature is that it allows us to maybe play Momo alongside an Empyrean Eagle on turn 3 already, since Momo doesn't count itself as the first creature, so then Momo can still get a discount on our 3-drop, which we can then also cast in the same turn, so that's also very efficient. Then another newcomer is the Air Nomad Legacy, an enchantment giving our creatures with flying +1/+1, and when it enters we also get to make a clue token, which we can sacrifice for 2 mana to draw a card. And getting a clue token is pretty useful in a deck like this, since we have quite a few cards with flash and other various instants that we would like to keep up during the opponent's turn, so if we maybe don't need to use our No More Lies to counter an opposing spell, instead we now get to maybe sacrifice our clue. The clue also synergizes with a Mischievous Mystic, a 2/1 flyer, saying if we draw our second card each turn, we get to make a 1/1 flying fairy token. So then playing the Legacy and sacking the clue can also maybe enable the Mystic to make a 1/1, and the Mystic is also very good alongside Malcolm, a 2/1 flyer with flash, so we can also play it during the opponent's turn. If it does deal damage to the opponent, we get to draw a card and then discard a card, so that can also maybe trigger the Mystic to make additional fairy tokens, and in a deck full of effects giving flyers +1/+1, that 1/1 token can quickly add up. And with Momo in play, we can play some of these 2-mana creatures for just 1 mana, so that maybe allows us to keep up additional interaction or play multiple creatures out in the same turn. And our interaction also includes some of these 3-mana flash creatures, including Aang, Swift Savior, a 2/3 flyer with flash. When it enters, we get to airbend up to 1 other target creature or spell. So this is kind of a pseudo counter spell, but it can also bounce an opposing creature or maybe even get rid of an opposing creature token, which is very effective. And then the opponent will still be able to replay the airbended card, but it will cost them 2 mana, so they could potentially still cast it in the same turn, which is different from plotting a card, so that's important to keep in mind. And then occasionally we can also waterbend 8 with Aang in play to transform it into a 5/5 reach trampler that when it attacks can put a +1 counter on each tapped creature we control, so that can also be a nice way to go over the top. And then Aang also pairs very nicely with the Aven Interrupter, a 2/2 bird with flash and flying. When it enters, we get to exile target spell. It becomes plotted, meaning the opponent cannot cast it in the same turn where it got plotted, but they can cast it on a future turn. If we control the Interrupter, those spells in exile will now cost 2 additional mana to cast, because normally if you plot you can play the spell for free in a future turn, but with Interrupter that costs 2 more, and that tax also applies to any card we might have airbended with Aang, meaning that now the opponent might have to pay 4 mana to replay their airbended spell or creature, so these two also pair quite well with each other. And then rounding out the deck at 1 mana, we've got some more flash flyers with a Spectral Sailor, can also activate for 4 mana to draw a card, another way to maybe trigger the Mystic, or to spend our mana if we don't have anything else going on. And then the Spyglass Siren is just a solid 1 mana flyer, makes a map token, can help us explore, either drawing a land or putting an extra +1 counter on our creature. And then the mana base also has a few utility lands, with the Restless Anchorage being pretty important, turning into a 2/3 flying creature that can also attack and make a map token. And I'm also trying 2 copies of the Abandoned Air Temple, which is going to see a decent amount of play, I think. A land that enters untapped if we control a basic, so not a very high bar. We've got 10 basics total, which is hopefully enough. And then for 4 mana, if we tap it, we can put a +1 counter on each creature we control, so that's another decent mana sink. Otherwise, the mana base is a little shaky at the moment, since we're still missing Hallowed Fountain in Standard, but we do have Flood Farm Verge. I'm complementing it with Multiversal Passage, and then a Starting Town, another Necessary Evil, and then 5 of each basic. So yeah, let's jump into some games and see how the deck does. Okay, we're on the draw. Hand is functional. Turn 2 can either keep up No More Lies or play the Mystic. Turn 3 will have even more options. So let's see what our opponent's up to. So here we can try and set up the combo of Aang, airbending an opposing spell or creature. Normally they can replay it for 2 mana, but with Aven Interrupter it will cost 2 more to cast from exile. So then it's going to cost 4. So that's how we can gain a pretty big tempo advantage. Opponent with a tapped Archive to surveil. Alright, now we found Malcolm, which pairs very well with Mystic especially. So we can keep up Counterspell or Flash Creature. End of turn, play Malcolm. Opponent counters, alright. In that case, do I just resolve the Mystic? Because I feel like my opponent's just going to pass a turn without doing anything. So then I may as well have a threat in play. And then if they don't answer it right away, I can maybe protect it with my Author Instance. Malcolm's good too. Can now help enable the Mystic once again. So our opponent on blue-white's control could be their own flying deck, I guess. Anchorage can get in the way of our 2-1 flyers. But it's going to be the Legend of Karuk to scry 2 draw card. Alright, let's just counter and then play Malcolm, I think. Seems pretty efficient. So we can attack. And discard a land for now. Make a token. And then, yeah, hope that they tap out once again as opposed to keeping up Anchorage as a blocker. Split up. I guess we even interrupter that one, because if I use Aang, they can just cast it right away. Although, this could be risky. Sawblade's gonna hit Mystic or Malcolm. Goes for the Mystic. So now we have to be careful, because yeah, if I attack with everyone, then of course split up for 2 mana can clear the board. I can play Aang to put it back in exile, and then with a land they could still cast it for 4 mana. So yeah, interesting spot. Maybe just get in for 3. I'll leave Interrupter untapped, although that feels kind of weak. Maybe I'll draw into another counterspell. Empyrean Eagle's not bad. So let's just pass. They did have another untapped land. So if I now play Aang, they can still cast it for 4 mana, but I guess we at least forced them to spend all that mana once again. So that seems fine. Could also airbend my own creature, to be fair. Yeah, maybe that's not too bad, just target Malcolm and replay it end of turn. So there's some tricky things we can do with this deck. So all tapped creatures are gone. And with Empyrean Eagle I can attack past Anchorage at least, if that's their plan. Alright, cast Eagle. Attack. They could trade for Malcolm. And that's fine. So we've got lethal in the air next turn. But opponent does seem like a control deck, so yep, opponent's got the sweeper sadly. So Siren plus Empyrean Eagle can explore as well. A Legacy is a good one. I guess I could pass with Aang available. And then with Eagle and Legacy, we have lethal next turn. So depending on what they do, Aang could be good enough. Stock up is fine. Although maybe it was worth using Aang just so they have to spend 2 mana casting it again, and then they can't cast a sweeper anymore. And they're unlikely to cast a 4 mana Wrath on this board. Authority, I guess I'll respond with Aang. Opponent might counter back. 3 steps. Alright. So they've got 1 card left. I get to play Eagle and Legacy. So then once again, we are presenting lethal for next turn. They did draw another Anchorage in the meantime. And Starcage is going to get rid of my Clue and my Siren. But Eagle's still lethal, so they would have to jump. Alright, opponent's fighting the good fight. And our opponent explodes. Sweet, on to the next one. Alright, we're on the draw. This hand could use a bit more top end. Get to start with probably Anchorage, turn to Momo, Flash and Sailor. But maybe on the draw it's still good enough, because at least our curve is low. Opponent on a sacrifice deck. Well, now I could be convinced to play Momo first. But yeah, I wouldn't be able to play this tapped and play Sailor next turn. I'll just play this tapped now. Scoundrels next. So likely an airship sacrifice deck, and they can already play the airship next turn, which is problematic. But yeah, still play Momo, can play Sailor end of turn, can also pump Momo. But we'll see. Hopefully they don't have the airship on turn 3 already, because that can be crewed and make additional copies of itself. Alright, for now another Scoundrel, maybe they were missing the land. Next turn I will have Interrupter available. And yeah, there's a chance Momo can set up an ambush. They found the land. I'll block a Scoundrel. Opponent's going to be forced to take out Momo. That's fine. Alright, I'll keep up Interrupter here. And then I don't have any play if I don't need to counter anything, unfortunately, but they probably cast a spell. Could also once again set up an ambush, but we'll wait. Freebooter. Feels like their hand's not very good, so I guess I'll just cast this now. Their last card was removal. Okay, so now I can double spell Mystic and Legacy, and then next turn I can play Eagle, sack a Clue, get a token. That sounds fine. Still at the mercy of the opponent's top decks. They can also use the Restless Vents to loot. But we should be able to overpower them in the air soon enough. Alright, another Momo, so I can play it and still play a 2-mana Eagle and still sack the Clue. So that's pretty sweet. I guess there's no harm in sacking this first. Smash for 7. And now I might be able to beat their vehicle if they draw it. It's gonna be a Zealot. Can sack the freebooters to make treasure. Alright, so they could still have the airship and then be able to crew 2 of them. But I think we still have lethal with Eagle. But yeah, it would be cool to see the airship here. Bono gets to surveil, keeps on top. And yeah, there's the airship. So at the beginning of your end step, if you sacrifice a permanent, which they did, they get to make a copy. Crew cost is 1, so they'll have 2 flyers on defense. But it doesn't matter, because Eagle will pump the team. And then even with 2 blockers, we'll have plenty. Sweet, on to the next one. Okay, we're on the play with a keepable hand. Malcolm on turn 2. This will enter untapped. Opponent the red-white. So it could be a control deck if they're just passing here. Got a backup Malcolm. Opponent just makes a token with Virtue. Fair enough. So, could keep up Interrupter. Yeah, that seems fine. We'll attack first. Well, one of these can go. And then ideally we get to use Interrupter, and then next turn maybe Eagle pump the team. Is going to be a bit more impactful. Interrupter would also make their adventure cost 7 instead of 5. Alright, Interrupter on spree cards is also pretty good, since they need to pay the additional cost once again. So, we're getting them pretty good so far. And yeah, I think it's just Empyrean Eagle attack. Hope there's no board wipe in our future. Can activate a Temple next turn to put a counter on each creature. Used to be a green-white land, Gavany Township, which I was hoping to see on Arena at some point. Now we just get a strictly better version. I guess it's not strictly better, more likely to enter tapped, but... Now Aang, so... Yeah, I think we just attack and keep up our various flash creatures. Discard a passage. And the War Leader's Call doesn't really impact me too much. And could also airbend the token to get rid of it. And a Dollmaker's Shop, so that should pretty much seal the deal here. Take my turn, activate the Temple. But we already had enough on the board. GG's. And then Malcolm could even cast something for free. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the play with a hand that could use an extra land perhaps, but it's functional. Sailor is eventually a way to enable the Mystic, and of course we also have the Clue, which could help make an extra fairy token. So, could play the Legacy first to beef up my creatures, or I can immediately play the Mystic and hope it doesn't get removed. Alright, now we have some 1-mana options as well. Yeah, I think we want to deploy a few more creatures before playing the Legacy or Empyrean Eagle. Alright, they waited until my turn, so now I can play Aang and airbend my own Mystic. Ang also meets the same fate. And we draw another one. Okay, so now I guess I replay Mystic and then Siren. Could Siren Explore, try and hit a land, but if I miss, it's not ideal. So if I draw a land, maybe play Legacy, sack the clue, make a token. Momo discounts the Empyrean Eagle. Yeah, that seems fine. Hit for 5. Does not seem like the type of deck with a lot of board wipes, but I could be wrong. You see Basing Se, which can Earthbend to make a land into a 2/2. Also can't forget about Restless Anchorage. Now the Earth King making a 4/4 bear. When 4-powered creatures attack, they get to ramp. Starting Town is definitely entering tapped. But yeah, don't mind playing the Legacy. And then... do I have lethal in the air? It's got to be close. 10, 13. Can go exploring. Don't need another Momo. And attack. Bones at 1. Overlord can deal with the Eagle. But the rest will still cross the finish line for us. So yeah, people maybe not used to playing against Ang yet, not knowing when it's appropriate to main phase removal. But I'm sure people will catch up soon enough. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the draw with fine hands. Looking at turn 2 Malcolm. Turn 3, we have options. Alright, Headliner on 1, this is kind of scary. Could play a Spyglass Siren just to try and trade it off. And we'll maybe throw off my curve in the future. But this could be a fire-bending Ascension deck. So, yeah, I guess I'll play the Siren, see if they want to trade for it. And can at least airbend a potential token from the Ascension to get rid of it. And there we see it already. Opponent's gonna attack, I'll trade. Alright, so I really need to play Ang next turn. So this turn's gonna be pretty underwhelming. Just play a tap line and pass. Versus play Malcolm. Hope that Malcolm draws into a land. It's a little greedy, but maybe it's worth it since we're pretty desperate. So they'll get to maybe make use of the firebending mana. Really need to prevent this from getting to 4 counters. So they didn't use the firebending mana. Zhao, so non-basics enter tapped. Yeah, I guess that's gonna affect me. Well, I get to keep up no more lines at least. This does not have an attack trigger. Alright. Maybe I should have attacked first on the off chance that I drew one of our few basics. Another Malcolm can go. And then I think I pass. Don't have a great plan if they don't play something worth countering. That's where having a clue token in play could have helped. And Burst Lightning. Yeah, I guess I'll counter. I would like to keep Malcolm in play. But But now they could maybe play another creature that triggers the Ascension, like a Hired Claw. So next turn they can complete it, double Hired Claw even. This enters tapped no matter what, so that's fine. Yeah, I guess Malcolm attack, keep up Aang. And probably flicker the soldier anyway, just to get rid of it. But yeah, double Hired Claw with the Ascension's gonna hurt. Got another one. Okay. Could wait for them to attack, just to ambush a Hired Claw, but I don't think I want the extra counters going on the Ascension. So we'll see if they still attack. It's a close call. So just Shao getting in for 2. Now I could play a pair of Air Nomad's Legacies or play Eagle and still explore. Yeah, explore can maybe hit a land, Malcolm helps too. Probably don't have time to cast all of these spells anyway. So then I could explore first. Or if I draw into a basic somehow, I could still play the second main. It's not very realistic. So let's do this. Don't think I need the Siren. Although I could play it alongside another Eagle, admittedly. But drawing into a land would be better, I think. So do I put myself dead with these attacks? So this goes to 4. Depending on how they stack, these will trigger twice. I think I still attack. Alright, Momo. I can maybe play alongside the Eagle. So we'll see, big turn coming up. They can also use the Firebending mana to activate Hired Claw. And Bayo, a flying blocker. And our opponent's playing pretty conservative here. Alright, so then I don't mind Momo into Eagle. Attack for lethal in the air, so our opponent's forced to jump. And then next turn we have Anchorage, Air Temple as options. But can our opponent deal 9 damage? It's not impossible. 3 creatures that put counters on Ascension, and opponent's just going for it. They've got nothing to lose. So first the Firebending, which means, yeah, now all these triggers are doubled, including the soldiers, yeah. So we're at 6, 2 blockers. Yeah, if they have a burn spell, I guess I'm dead. Play Kick Burst Lightning would do it. Otherwise, I guess I still make them pump the Hired Claw. Yeah, there it is, Kick Burst Lightning. Yeah, that 1 extra mana made the difference. But yeah, close game, on to the next one. Okay, we're on the play. Missing a 1 mana creature. But on the play I think we can still keep this one. Passage on blue, can enter tapped. Yeah, the mana in blue-white's not ideal yet, still missing Hallowed Fountain, but we'll get it soon enough. Turn on elves, that's scary. So, yeah, I'll play the Mystic. And hope that we're fast enough. May have to airbend a creature just to slow them down. Like the Warden. So, can expect my opponent to have Ouroboros in the deck. So that's the type of card we wouldn't mind airbending, just to slow them down a bit. And otherwise I can maybe airbend the Warden instead. And then next turn, I can maybe hit him with a Legacy draw card, or just play 2 more creatures first. Because drawing a card would make an extra token, of course. Alright, it's going to be another Elves first. Maybe should have used Ang on Warden first, but... And an Ascension. Yeah, let's just airbend. If I used this first, I guess I could have still replayed it for 2 mana this turn, so waiting had its advantages. Another Ang. So, Eagle plus Siren versus Legacy, draw a card. I guess we just play the extra creatures out. Opponent's at 12. We could threaten 12 in the air next turn, so even if they play Ouroboros, if they don't back it up with a reach creature or removal, it maybe doesn't matter. Summon Fenrir, more ramp. And the Ascension also close to being active. And Jean is fine. 1 card left. Is it a fight spell? I'm not gonna risk blocking. Although I guess they were tapped out, so I could have. But yeah, now we can Legacy, draw a card, explore, do all the things. The extra tokens are also good if we eventually want to waterbend at some point, but I don't think that'll be necessary. Alright, on to the next one. Okay, we're on the play. Hand is functional. Can combine Malcolm with the Mischievous Mystic to make extra 1/1 flyers. So for now, let's probably just flash in Malcolm end of turn, if I don't need to counter anything. And then we can maybe immediately make a token, we'll see. Put on black-white. Could be a sacrifice deck. Judy, one of many. Okay, that's fine. And now Momo. Momo lets me play it alongside Empyrean Eagle this turn, which seems decent, because then next turn I can play 1 mana Mystic, maybe keep up no more lives in the opponent's turn. Seems worthwhile. Another Empyrean Eagle. May not need the Interrupter this game. Tools of War makes sense, makes a clue. When they sack stuff, they get to make a 1/1 token. Alright, so opponent's got a second copy. But yeah, I've got options. Can even play another Empyrean Eagle as opposed to the Mystic and still keep up no more lies. That seems fine to me. Just applies the most pressure right now. And I think the Mystic can go at this point. No more lies covers a sweeper, and I can pump the team even more. Better Triumph. I'll fight over it. They might have another one, but then with a Legacy next turn we should still get there. Yep. Still taking a lethal in the air. And we could have also showed them the legacy. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the play. We have tap land into starting town. I mean, if I draw a third land, this isn't terrible. And then a fourth land could let me play a legacy draw card. Don't have any flash cards to go with No More Lies, but I'll try it. Make sure to play a temple since it's tapped for now. Swamp into Vine Lasher, so a landfall deck. I'll play the Mystic. So really need land 3. Badger Mole, yeah. So that land now makes 2 mana on the following turn. Alright, got the land, it's tapped for now. So I can keep up No More Lies, and then Flash and Sailor end of turn, that's probably fine. A Legacy is going to be more impactful later. Alright, let's counter that. Even though it wouldn't stay in play. Now we also don't need to worry about it coming back later. Alright, this still only produces white. But I guess that's fine. Can still play Eagle, Flash and Sailor end of turn. Versus Legacy, draw card, make a token. Which is fine too. But I think I want the extra creature that Eagle provides. Now fetch land is 2 damage. So a total of 5 mana here. Now we're taking some hits. And Dialy agents, they get to Earthbend 1 and Earthbend 1 again. Alright, so now our opponent's got a bunch of extra mana with a cub. So that could hurt. Starting town also not doing me any favors. No More Lies might be a bit late to the party. So when this attacks, each opponent loses X, you gain X, where X is a number of creatures with counters on them. So that's 3 at the moment. Yeah, probably need to keep up No More Lies. Opponent's at 15. Yeah, I'm guessing I'll have lethal on the way back with another Eagle added to the board. And then, if they don't make me No More Lies, I can still sack a clue. Question is, do I leave any blockers back? Maybe that's not a terrible idea. 3, 4, 5, 6 with a land 7. And this drains for 3. Yeah, I need at least 1 blocker back, if not more. If I hit them down to 11... Yeah, maybe I attack and then pass. Might be incorrect, but we'll see. They have 1,000,000 mana, another agents. Well, I can counter, opponent can pay. This will still attack now with 5 creatures, so drain for 5. Block, block. I guess I'm not dead. Although it's pretty close. I mean, I think it's still the play here. Their opponent pays. Opponent's going to be at 16. 10, 11, 12, 13. Yeah, I'm going to be a little short, maybe with Anchorage. I guess that's more or less the same as playing another Eagle. So I have to block like so. And now I can't even tap Starting Town for colored mana. Momo I could play alongside Empyrean Eagle. But yeah, that doesn't change my clock. And I mean, I'm super dead next turn if they attack, so... Yeah, activate anchorage doesn't work. So this is my only play, I think. Alright, so very close. I needed the extra blocker to survive. They just had just enough mana to pay for the second agents. And now we're super dead on the way back. But yeah, cool deck from our opponents. Did not have the agents on my radar. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the play. Our hand is a little slow to get going, but not bad. Not sure yet if we're playing Momo on turn 2, or if I keep up No More Lies. A Momo represent. And turn 1 headliner. That's rough. Well, I'll keep up my counterspell for now. So our opponent likely on a Firebender's Ascension deck, but they don't have it on turn 2. Opponent's plotting a card or foretelling a card. I think this is the Comet, which can give their creatures firebending, perhaps. So now I can play Momo. Maybe trade for the headliner. And if I don't need to counter, I can play a Sailor. Now with the Sailor I could also set up an ambush. Although then what happens? I play Sailor. In response, they can just sack the headliner, but then they have to spend the mana. So that's maybe still reasonable here. Now it's too late to take out Momo, since they would only have one creature left. So they let it go. And they get to resolve Bayo. Alright, play a 2-mana Eagle. Would let Momo attack past Bayo, or we can play Aang. And just get it out of the way for a turn. Yeah, I guess Aang, and then next turn Aang gets to attack past Bayo with the Eagle, pumping it up. Would love a second untapped blue source so we can play Eagle, keep up No More Lies. Opponent plays a different Bayo. Could have played one for 2. I guess it maybe didn't matter. And we did draw the untapped blue, so I got my wish. Play Eagle with No More Lies backup. These get to attack. Now they could potentially block and deal 1 extra damage on the way out, but they decided not to. Next turn maybe activate the anchorage. Still have that foretold card. And yep, Sozin's Comet. So in response to the trigger I can counter, so they won't be able to pay. Otherwise they would have been able to give their creature Firebending 5. Could have been pretty decent. And now, do we go for anchorage? Might be a little risky. Could just play Aang, target Bayo, keep the original Aang, get it out of the way. And this says, I guess when it leaves the battlefield, so they could still deal 3 damage on the way out. So in that case, how does an all-out attack look like? Not necessarily lethal. So yeah, interesting spot. Could also look into waterbending Aang, to be fair. Transform it into a 5/5 reach trample. But then I would have to tap Aang itself. All options. I can do so at instant speed, so maybe I don't even attack this turn. And then if I don't need to counter, I get to waterbend 8. Yeah, it would be fun to see, I guess. The alternative of animate anchorage attack with everyone could work out. But if they have removal for Eagle, I might get punished. So I'll play it safe. Can also draw with the Sailor, so we have options. And there's the Firebender's Ascension, as we suspected. That's fine. Does Bayo consider an attack? That would be surprising. No attacks. Yeah, let's try this. Nice. So now, when this attacks, put a +1 counter on each tapped creature you control. Send it. Siren would pump Momo, so can do that first as well. This is the end of Season 1, if you remember. Alright, Faded Firepower, that's what they were trying to set up all along. 2 counters, so their red sources deal 2 additional damage now. Don't think that's gonna be enough to survive. Can jump this on the ground, take 4, and then take another 10 in the air. Alright, so we got to see this blue-white Flyers deck in action. And yeah, the deck certainly has some nice curves that it's capable of. Turn 1 Momo, turn 2 already play Empyrean Eagle. Got another Anthem effect now too in enchantment form, so it's a bit more resilient. Have a bit of synergy with the Mystic, making extra fairy tokens alongside Malcolm. And you can configure the deck in a multitude of ways when it comes to rounding out the deck with counter spells and flash creatures. You can also play Enduring Curiosity if you need some more card draw with your small flyers hitting the opponent. And then in best of 3, if you were to play this with a sideboard, you can also include more counter spells or more spot removal for matchups where you need it. So it's a very customizable deck. The main thing holding it back right now is the mana base, but that's something that should be addressed soon enough with the release of Lorwyn and the introduction of Hallowed Fountain and maybe some other mana fixing, so hopefully we won't have to wait too long for that. But for now, I want to thank you for watching, hope you enjoyed, and as always, have a nice day.